Now, if you're on the internet at all, you probably see some pretty crazy stories about the fabled Florida man. Stuff like alligator-assisted armed robbery. Yes, no, true story. Some guy threw an alligator through the drive-thru window of a Wendy's in Florida. A live alligator. I mean, what even is that? And much like Florida man, Florida woman should not be underestimated, especially if she thinks you wronged her. Hey, I'm Amy. Thanks for watching True Crime Recaps. So the first sign of trouble is this 911 call from Sarah Boone. It comes in around 1 in the afternoon on February 24th, 2020.
My boyfriend is dead.
All right, great. Now tell me exactly what happened there.
My boyfriend and I were playing last night, and I put him in his case and we were playing. It's like kind of hide and seek kind of thing. So I fell asleep, and I woke up, and he was dead in the suitcase, so I don't know what happened.
When help arrives at their apartment in Winter Park, Florida, they find her boyfriend, Jorge Torres Jr., on the living room floor next to a large blue suitcase that served as his coffin. He had cuts and bruises on his eye and hands and some long scratches on his neck and shoulder, but after being trapped in the suitcase for 11 hours, he died from asphyxiation. Why was this man in a freaking suitcase? Well, Sarah told detectives they spent the evening drinking Chardonnay and putting together a puzzle, just a low-key, cozy kind of night. And then they had a better idea, hide and seek. One thing led to another, as it often does, and somehow Sarah ended up using a paper clip to close the suitcase with her boyfriend inside because the zipper was broken. Just, two people entertaining themselves with some wholesome shenanigans, nothing more, nothing less. They weren't even drunk, she said, despite the fact that they'd been drinking. Now, she claimed she left him with 2 fingers free and thought he could get out on his own. So she went upstairs and fell asleep around 12:30 a.m. But when she woke up alone, she thought he was alive and well downstairs. When it finally occurred to her to check the suitcase hours later, it was far too late to save him. That was her story anyway. The detectives were skeptical. When they sat her down for a second interview and casually asked if she remembered taking any pictures or videos that night, she claimed she only remembered snapping a quick pic of her dog. But 2 videos from her phone told a very different story. From her seat on the other side of the room, she pointed her camera toward the wobbling suitcase. Jorge is inside. He's struggling and he's calling her name, but there's no help coming from that direction. At one point, she can be heard slurring her words, saying, "For everything you've done to me, F you." The recording lasts for about 2 minutes, but this is a few unforgettable seconds of it. And a word of warning, it is disturbing.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
For everything you've done to me.
Sarah.
It only gets worse from there. His pleas got more panicked. Over and over, he told her he couldn't breathe. She said things like, "That's on you. That's what I feel like when you cheat on me." At one point, after he yelled her name, she could be heard saying, "You should probably shut the F up." In that first video, the suitcase is facing down. In the second video, police say it appears to be in a different position. And once again, he can be heard inside screaming her name as the bag wobbles back and forth. So, what did Sarah have to say about that? Well, she could only watch a portion of it before she told police to turn it off. She admitted it looked bad, but denied intentionally leaving him to die. She claimed to have no memory of making the recordings and blamed it on the booze. That was, if you remember, a little different than her original claim that they'd been drinking but stayed sober. But she insisted she didn't realize how dire the situation really was. According to the police records, she assumed his shouts were merely a case of a boy crying wolf. But if she didn't remember recording the video, how did she remember dismissing his pleas as like crying wolf? According to one Orange County deputy, Sarah was asked why she didn't let Jorge out when he asked to be let out. And she said, "Well, number 1, I had no idea it was going to end like that. Number 2, I'll give you 5 minutes or so in there." In the eyes of the police, this was looking less and less like an accident. And when they did a little digging into the couple's 3-year relationship, they uncovered a history of domestic violence between them. In 2018, they were both arrested and charged with battery after an alcohol-related altercation at their home. According to police records from the incident, Sarah said Jorge was angry because she was talking to another guy at the bar, so he dragged her upstairs and kicked her in the face. Jorge, however, claimed that Sarah was the assailant. In his version of the story, he walked upstairs to remove himself from the heated situation, only for her to wrap her hands around his throat and try to strangle him. Now, according to the affidavit, he told police he kicked her, but in self-defense. In the end, they were both arrested, charged, and subsequently released. But their relationship only seemed to get more toxic. In 2019, Jorge was charged with battery 3 different times, the most recent of which occurred in September of that year. According to the report for that incident, Sarah accused him of punching her in the ear. Now, a neighbor came forward to describe the sounds that he often heard coming from the couple's apartment. Loud music and louder fights were common, and he wasn't the only one to notice. Other neighbors had complained about the noise too. Sarah was arrested on February 25th, 2020, and charged with second-degree murder. If convicted, she faces a maximum sentence of life in prison. Oh, what do you think happened that night? Was this an innocent game gone wrong? Gone very wrong? Or do police have it right? Did she knowingly zip him up in a suitcase and leave him to die?